He started his first company when he was just 9 years old in Zimbabwe.
Today, he's the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Nonbelievable.
Nonbelievable is a mission-based baked goods company that makes better-for-you delicious cookies to help fight hunger.
For every purchase, Nonbelievable donates meals to partner impact partners like Feed America.
Since launch, Nonbelievable has donated over 1 million meals to people in need.
Here's a cool video that tells his story and welcomes
him to the stage.
Yes, it does.
Here we go. Let's optimize for video clip, and here we are.
1 in 6 kids are food insecure in this country. Over 42 million Americans struggle with hunger. We're here to do something about that. My name is Brian.
And I'm Kuda, and we're the founders of Nonbelievable. We're on a mission to provide 10 million meals to people in need, and we're doing this in a delicious way, with our cookies.
Nonbelievable is a mission-based baked goods business. With our buy one, give one model, for every cookie we sell, we provide a meal to someone in need through one of our impact partners.
We've been fortunate enough to partner with some incredible partners like World Vision, Feeding America, and New York City Relief to feed hundreds of thousands of people across the United States.
I actually fell into homelessness when COVID-19 hit. I think I'm a product of the services that Nonbelievable provides. I just got a new job as a consultant. I'm pretty excited to be back into the workforce.
We offer a range of delicious baked goods. All of our cookies are made from natural, better-for-you ingredients.
It's a great gift, and it has a great mission.
When you want a cookie, you want a cookie.
It is so flavorful. You can tell there's nothing artificial in here. Delicious.
We believe that when we connect over delicious moments and give back, our lives are as rich as a melty, warm cookie.
And together, we can end hunger, one cookie at a time.
I am starving for a cookie. I don't know about anyone else. Please welcome your next speaker,
Kuda Biza.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're having a wonderful day. And thank you so much for coming to CMC 2022. I'm really excited to be sharing about Nonbelievable, about being a purpose-driven business. And I hope you guys get to enjoy. And James Smith, thank you so much for keeping an eye on the agenda. And I love the person who had the plant-based burger as well. That's what I also had for lunch. So kudos to you. So I'm going to share my screen real quick because I want to walk you guys through a quick presentation. And the presentation really is just going to walk you through the whole notion of being purpose-driven. And right now, today, as consumers, when we walk inside a grocery store, there are so many choices. Just take a look at your average aisle, right? If you go on Amazon, it's even worse. And what's interesting is that if you were to find two brands, right? Let's take brand A and brand B. Everything is the same about them, the same ingredients, the same calorie count, the same price. But the only thing that was different between the two brands is that brand A gives back and brand B doesn't give back. In the chats, just tell me which brand you would buy. Everything is the same. It's only that A gives back and B doesn't. So in the chats, just throw in what you guys would purchase. Would love to see what the responses are. Okay, so far it's A all the way. James say one that gives back. Love it, love it. Okay, now another question. If A was to be a little bit more expensive than B, how would that change your perception? I'm just curious to see if people will change based on price, because I think Teresa was also saying would depend on price. But yeah, tell me if A was a little bit more expensive versus B, would you still stick with A or you go to B? Depends on the difference, still A. Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna share with you guys some data, but before we do that, let's talk about me. I'm Kuda Biza. As you can see, this is a picture of me when I was in beautiful Harare, Zimbabwe, when I was in 2nd grade. And what's interesting is that, as you can see in this picture, I'm smiling, I'm happy, and it's picture day. What was really going on that you don't see is that I was hungry. In fact, I was starving in this picture because the night before I didn't get anything to eat for dinner. I went to bed on an empty stomach. And that same day, this was the article that was on the New York Times, Southern Africa hit by its worst drought of the 20th century. So this was the newspaper in America. This was me in Zimbabwe. And Zimbabwe had been hit by a very severe drought along with South Africa, Zambia, Mozambique, and a few other Southern African countries. And in that moment, you know, as a second grader, what was just going through my mind was like, okay, you know, can we just get to lunchtime so that I could get some of the food that would come from the food relief efforts? To give you a picture of what was going on in Zimbabwe, maize is kind of like our staple food, right? And here's a chart that shows the production the year of the drought and the year before the drought. So to put it in context, think of you make $605,000 the year prior, and then the current year you only make 12,000. I think your life would be dramatically different, right? In terms of your lifestyle, what you eat, where you go, you know, all the different things that you do. And that was the situation in Zimbabwe. We had produced 605,000, you know, tons of maize the year before, but because of the drought, we only were able to produce 12,000 tons. And we were going through this severe hunger. And in that moment, you know, when that picture was taken, I was supposed to go in front of the class and tell them what my dream in life was, because that's the way our teacher had it. You would, you know, get your picture taken, and as soon as the picture was taken, you would then go in front of the class and tell them what you wanted to do. And this is what I told my class. I told my class that I want to leave Zimbabwe for America, become a successful entrepreneur, and give back. What was interesting about my answer was that it was, number one, way longer than my classmates, right? Most of my classmates were just going up stage and saying, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. But mine was very long and very specific, simply because my father was part of the food relief efforts in Zimbabwe. And through these efforts, he would come back home and he would tell me a lot of the stories around what was going on in the field. He would come back and tell me a story like, hey, Kuda, we're able to get to a village right on time, and we're able to provide meals, and we saved lives. Or he would tell me the sad story, we got there a day late, an 8-year-old grandma and a 4-year-old granddaughter died. And at that very young age, I started questioning my purpose. What's my purpose in life? And I also started questioning, who are these people who are donating food that my father and some of his teammates were going out to donate? And I found out that an organization called World Vision was donating the food that we're eating, and they were able to make those donations because entrepreneurs in America were making donations to World Vision, and then World Vision would take that money, buy food, and then donate that food to Southern Africa in order for us to survive. And for me, it became like my calling, because I quickly realized that, hey, if there's anything I could do with my life, I want to be like those entrepreneurs in America that are enabling us to survive. And it became simply my life's purpose. And purpose to me is defined as the reason for which something exists. So as a person, I think it's important to be asking yourself, what is my life purpose? But it's also important to be asking that same very question for your business. What is the purpose for your business? When we launched Nonbelievable, we quickly knew that our purpose was going to be beyond just making profits. So yes, we are a for-profit organization, but the real purpose we exist is for us to fight hunger. And it leads me to this quote by Mark Twain, which is, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. So for me, it was that day in second grade when I was thinking, okay, what's my purpose? What's my dream in life? And I realized that my why was to be a successful entrepreneur that gives back. But I also want to make sure that we remember the third day that Mark might have left out. And I like to say that the three most important days in life are the day you're born, the day you find out why, and each day you act on your why. So as a marketer, as a parent, as a business leader, you need to be thinking about, are you taking actions today that are in alignment with your why? Because when you get to do that, you will be able to live a life that gives you a lot of fulfillment because your actions are in alignment with your purpose. Now, I'm a very firm believer that every single business should be a purpose-driven business. And other people like Richard Branson actually agree with me. And Richard Branson actually goes on further to say, brands that will thrive in the coming years are the ones that have a purpose beyond profit. And the reason why he says that is because there's a lot of data that's telling us exactly that. So for example, 88% of consumers want brands to make the world a better place. And that's why when I ask the question between brand A and brand B, a lot of people, you are saying brand A. In fact, I think everybody, maybe except one or two, was saying you would purchase brand A. Why? Because you want brands to make a better place, but also you want your dollar, right? Because you're voting with your dollar to align with brands that are going beyond just profit, right? Another research study says that 77% of consumers say they have stronger emotional bonds with purpose-driven companies. That's a very powerful statement. And why do I say that? Well, if you're in marketing and, one thing you'll know is that people purchase based on emotion. If you see a Coca-Cola ad, they're just basically, pulling those emotional strings, right? The panda bear, open happiness, it's all about emotion, because the way consumers behave is we purchase based on what we feel, right? Emotion, and then we justify the decision logically, right? But the decision is fundamentally made from an emotion. And one thing I will tell you is that when customers have a stronger emotional bond with a brand, it's going to result into more sales, right? And we all know that when you have stronger emotional bonds that result into more sales mean more profit, if everything else is the same, right? And with more profit, if you're purpose-driven, you have more impact. And that's what we want to do as brands, right? We want to grow our business. We want to generate more sales. We want to become more profitable so that we can, give back to the community and also to our shareholders. But what the number one way to enable us to do that is by having stronger emotional bonds with our customers. And one quick way for you to have these stronger emotional bonds with your customers is by being purpose-driven. Now, I just want to get a quick sense in the room. How many people work for a purpose-driven brand, or at least a brand that has a larger purpose just beyond their profit? So you can just type in the chats, and I would love to know what that purpose is. So Amanda says, I do. Becca says, I do. Feel free to tell me what the purpose that you guys, work for. I wish, no. For the people who are saying I wish or no, you have the opportunity to then take the learnings from here and actually go implement it, and then you can make your business a little bit more purpose-driven. Okay, supporting technology. All right, that's really interesting. Now, I'm going to share something with you guys that's really interesting, is that we looked into the data that was coming from customers. Now, there's a lot of data also coming from the investor side. So here's a managing partner for a fund in Connecticut, where he's basically shifted his investing model from the old risk-reward model to risk-impact-reward. Basically, what this means is that when David is looking at an investment, one of the things he asks the founders is that, hey, what is the impact you're going to make into the world? Before he asks, what are the returns that I'm going to make from my investment? Which is a fundamental shift to see investors also thinking about aligning their dollars with purpose, right? Because they also want to make the world a better place. And one of the interesting things that I've also started seeing is that the big guys are starting to notice that being purpose-driven is actually really good for sales. And I'm going to use Procter & Gamble as a case study, and I'm pretty sure most of us probably use some of the products that Procter & Gamble, makes. As you can see, some of their portfolio products here. And just to give you context, right, from 2017 to 2021, P&G grew their revenue by $11 billion, right? That's a lot of growth, right? And if Procter & Gamble was a country, if their revenue was the GDP of a country, their revenue would be higher than 125 member countries of the United Nations. And the United Nations has 193 member nations. So they're a big company, right? One of the things that they do, which is a secret weapon for them, is they spend a lot of money talking to their customers to really understand where consumer trends are going and how they can really shift their business to align with consumer trends. Now, one of the things I was able to pull is that they spend north of $400 million a year just doing consumer research. They talk to over 5 million consumers, do over 20,000 studies in nearly 100 countries. So they're not just talking to customers in America or in England or whatever, they're talking to customers across the world. And one of the things that P&G has started to do is they started publishing a citizenship report, where in addition to the annual report, where they're talking about performance, how they grow sales, their strategy, and all that stuff, they're now also taking that extra step to talk about how they're becoming a purpose-driven business, right? So you can see that they've put a stake in the ground that by 2030, they want to have brands that are a force for good and a force for growth. Because like what Richard Branson was saying, the brands that are going to thrive in years to come are the ones that have a purpose, right? Beyond just profits. And you can actually see a lot of this manifesting in some of the marketing material, right? In some of the content that P&G is putting out. So you can take a look at what Always and Tempex is doing, where they're also doing kind of like a one-for-one model, similar to like what we do at Unbelievable. Pampers is also donating to babies as well. So it's pretty interesting how the content that they're putting out nowadays is really in alignment with them being a purpose-driven brand. And there's so many other examples out there that you guys could probably share that you can see that the trend for becoming a purpose-driven brand, it's here and it's here to stay. One of the research studies that came out was that purpose-driven companies outperform S&P 500 companies by a factor of 14 to 1. And this is over a 15-year period, right? So it's not something they just did 1 year and that was it. They tracked this over 15 years. And there's an article in Forbes that talks about businesses that ignore being purpose-driven. They're going to be on life support in the next 4 to 7 years. So as you can see, guys, being purpose-driven is really the way to go. And you might be questioning, well, Kuda, what are some of the benefits of being purpose-driven, right? Well, the benefits are clear. Number one, as you saw in the data, you get to attract customers. So being purpose-driven can actually give you a competitive advantage. And from what we see as an Unbelievable, customers are actually willing to pay a slight premium because they know that when they buy a pack of cookies, we're going to be providing a meal to someone in need. Number two, you're able to attract and retain talent. I get resumes in my inbox of people who are already working, some in Fortune 100 companies, who are saying like, hey, I'm working at this job. I don't feel a sense of purpose. I want to come work with you because I feel I could impact the world much, much greater by working with Unbelievable. But also even from a retention perspective, people tend to stay longer because they understand that, hey, there's a bigger mission at play and they want to be with the organization. And then you saw from David's quote, you're now able to even attract capital by simply being purpose-driven. So there's a lot of benefits to that. What I'll also caveat by saying is you want to make sure that your purpose is rooted in something that's authentic and something that truly aligns with who you are as a brand and how you can serve the community that you're a part of. Now, a little bit about Unbelievable, right? We were founded a couple of years ago, but before I go into Unbelievable, let me just connect the dots real quick. So remember, second grade Kuda, right? Wanting to come to America and become an entrepreneur. Fast forward to, when I was a 17-year-old, all my parents could give me was $40, and I came to America, landed at Miami International Airport with $40 in my pocket and a suitcase and a dream to become an entrepreneur. I launched a social venture while I was in college, went and worked in a big Fortune 500 company for over a decade, and then got a call from Tony Robbins and his team to launch Nonbelievable. So Tony Robbins is one of the investors in Nonbelievable. It was actually his idea. And I came in and became one of the co-founders. And together we've now been able to donate over 1 million meals in less than 2 years. And what makes it full circle for me is the fact that World Vision, that same organization that saved me and millions others when we were going through the drought, is one of the impact partners that I cut a check to on a quarterly basis to now help fight hunger in America. Over 40 million Americans struggle with hunger today. And for a nation that's probably one of the wealthiest nations in the world, it's a statistic that I cannot wrap my head around, because 40 million, that's more than the population of Canada. So there are more people in America struggling with hunger than there are people in America, which comes to validate the point that entrepreneurs really, we're going to be the ones that are going to solve some of these social issues that the world faces, because governments and nonprofits alone, they cannot do it. The true problem solvers are people like you and me, right? The entrepreneurs who see a problem, come up with the solution, create value, and then extract that value to go solve that problem. Now, as I get ready to leave, I just want to leave you guys with a thought. And the thought I want to share with you guys is that Malcolm X says that a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. And I like to say a business which stands for nothing will fall for anything. So in your business, what purpose are you serving, right? If you currently don't have any purpose that's really driving your DNA for your company, take some time to really think about how can you serve in your community a little bit better? How can you serve your customers beyond just providing them the product, beyond just the transactional relationship that you currently have with them, and focus on areas that you could do to impact the local community, the world at a global level, or whatever way you feel is in alignment with your business. So with that, would love to take any questions about being a purpose-driven brand that you guys might have.
Yes, go ahead and type in any questions you have for Kuda into the chat while we wait for those. Here's a question. There's so many good causes. How do you decide what cause to have your business focus on?
Well, I think, remember the definition for purpose, right? It's the reason why something exists. So I think you need to align the cause with your business. If you are having a hard time in really aligning that, I think you can bring your customers into the fold and you can co-create that impact. Because if you then do that with your customers, I think there's a sense of co-creation, a sense of belonging between a key constituent in your business and the impact that you are going to focus on.
Great.
Jane Smith asks,
She said, are you expanding? If so, would you consider expanding into Mississippi?
Yes, so number one, we sell online as well as retail, so we're omni-channel. So yes, we're already serving Mississippi if you order our cookies online, but we have some retail partners that are in the Midwest and in other areas. And yes, we want to cover every single state, so we'll make sure that we'll be in Mississippi as well. But right now, if you cannot find us in your local grocery store, you can just go order us on Amazon or on our website.
All right, and Elijah Shoesmith asks,
how do you determine if your support should be locally focused or expand to a global impact?
So I'm a firm believer of three things. I'm a firm believer of dreaming big, starting small, and then scaling fast. So I would say, dream big, Elijah, right? What is the impact that you want to do? So for Nonbelievable, when we sat down, we said by 2023, we want to have fed 10 million people. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. But in order for us to do that, we have to start small. And then once we find a model that works, then you scale fast. So my humble opinion would be start locally, because if you start a locally focused effort, it enables you to kind of like tinker it, figure out all the things that you need to fix before you go scale it. Or you could do what we did, which is you partner up with someone that is already doing it. So Feeding America, World Vision, and a few other nonprofit organizations that we work with, they've already figured out the impact side. So we as a business, we focus on selling as many cookies as possible, and then we cut a donation check to these organizations, and then they focus on the impact. So I think for you, it's really thinking about what area do you want to play. But if you want to come up with a strategy that I think would work, is start by writing a big or hairy audacious goal that wakes you up in the morning, figure out a way to start small, and then once you find a model that works, scale it.
Jane Smith clarifies she meant factories, not the product being available, but they need factories in the state. Do you have any plans on building cookie factories in Mississippi?
Yes, so we haven't looked into Mississippi yet. Where we currently bake our cookies, we're baking in Las Vegas, and also we're baking in Atlanta, Georgia, because we wanted to be on the East Coast and the West Coast. So I'm sure as the business scales and the business grows, if there's an opportunity for us to get a third manufacturing facility, we'll definitely look into Mississippi. And if there are things that you know about Mississippi that would help us, feel free to reach out and share. We're always open to exploring opportunities across the United States.
Okay, that was great. Any final questions? If you have any final questions, you can type them into the chat now. This was, I mean, I guess one more question is like you said, the companies focus on profit and loss, but until you're making a sizable profit, if you're focused on doing good, it kind of distracts from making enough profit to do good. But or are you saying the motivational help make it profitable?
Yeah, what I'm saying is that, when you have a purpose, it actually adds fuel, right, to what you're doing. Because for me, when I wake up in the morning, my motivation is I want to sell as many cookies as possible so that I can feed a lot of people, right? Because I have a genuine heart to want to give back and make a difference. I'm building my business so that we're successful financially, profitably, so that my impact is great, right? Because if I don't sell cookies, I'm not feeding or helping people. So what you do by bringing in a purpose into your company, you bring in a catalyst that will then catalyze not just yourself, not just your team, but even the customers to want to then work together as a group to help solve this social issue that you guys are fighting to help solve. And if you guys want to connect, there's my information. Feel free to shoot me a note just to say hello. Or if you have questions about being a purpose-driven brand, more than happy to connect with everybody. And thank you so much for attending and for the questions that you've asked. And looking forward to seeing the beautiful things that you guys will go out and create in the world.
Thank you, Kuda. This was really great.
Yes,
thank you again.